Kang Taeho woke up to a sound like thunder that would not stop. His small farmhouse shook. The windows rattled. His dog barked wildly outside, then went silent. He grabbed the baseball bat near his bed and walked to the door. When he opened it, he could not believe what he saw. A massive ship floated above his cabbage field. It was larger than his entire farm. Bright white lights came down from it, burning his crops to ash. 3 years of hard work gone in seconds. But Taeho could not feel angry. He was too shocked to feel anything. A beam of light touched the ground, and three figures walked down from the ship. The tallest one was a woman. She had silver skin that seemed to glow under the moonlight. Her eyes were large and golden, like two small suns. She wore armor that looked like liquid metal, and a crown of strange crystals sat on her head. She was beautiful in a way that made Taeho feel afraid. Behind her walked two younger females. One looked like a teenager, maybe 16. She had the same silver skin, but darker eyes, almost purple. Her face was cold and angry. She looked at the farmhouse like it was garbage. The smaller one looked about 12. Her skin was lighter silver, almost white. Her eyes were wide and curious. She was looking at everything around her with wonder, especially the moon in the sky. The tall woman stopped in front of Taeho. She was almost 2 meters tall. He had to look up at her. "You are the human called Kang Taeho," she said. Her Korean was strange and broken, like she had learned it from watching television. "I have selected you." Taeho blinked. "Selected me? For what?" "I am Queen Orin of the Vellani Empire. These are my daughters. The elder is Vela. The younger is Nira." She spoke like she was reading from a script. "There is war in my empire. Many want my daughters dead. Many want to use them. Earth is hidden, safe, primitive. No one will look here." "Wait," Taeho said slowly. "You want to hide your daughters? Here? On my farm?" "Yes." The queen nodded once. "You will raise them, protect them, teach them." Taeho laughed. It was not a happy laugh. "Lady, I grow cabbages. I am not a babysitter. I cannot take care of alien princesses." The queen tilted her head. She pulled out a small device and pointed it at Taeho. A blue light scanned his body from head to toe. "You were a soldier, a healer for wounded men. You have no wife, no children, no family here. You live alone. You are strong, healthy, and—" She paused, looking at the device. "Genetically acceptable." "Genetically acceptable?" Taeho repeated. "What does that mean?" The queen put the device away. Her golden eyes looked directly into his. "I want my grandchildren when I return." Taeho's mouth fell open. He could not speak. "Mother!" the older daughter shouted. Her voice was sharp and angry. "You cannot be serious. This primitive creature? You want us to breed with this thing?" "Vela, silence," the queen commanded. "No, I refuse. I would rather die than touch a human. Look at him, he is dirty. He smells like vegetables. His house is made of wood like an animal's den," Vela was shouting now, her purple eyes burning with rage. The younger one, Nira, tugged at her mother's arm. "Mother, why does that planet have only one moon? Is it broken? And why is the air so thick here? It feels like swimming. And what is that smell? Is that food? Can I try some?" Queen Orin ignored both of them. She looked at Taeho with those golden eyes that seemed to see everything. "You have no choice, human. I have chosen you. My daughters will stay. You will care for them. In 5 of your Earth years, I will return. If my daughters are healthy and happy, you will be rewarded beyond your imagination. If they are harmed—" She leaned closer. "I will burn this planet to dust." She placed a small metal cube in Taeho's hand. "This is for communication. Use it only in emergency." Then she turned and walked back toward the beam of light. "Mother, wait!" Vela ran after her. "You cannot leave us here. This is madness. Mother!" Queen Orin stopped. She turned and looked at her elder daughter. For a moment, Taeho thought he saw something soft in those golden eyes, something sad. "Vela, my strong, angry child." The queen touched her daughter's face gently. "I do this because I love you. The enemies who want you dead are too many. The suitors who want to use you are too powerful. Here you are safe. Here you can grow. Here you can become more than a weapon. I do not want to become anything. I want to go home. This is your home now. For 5 years. The queen pulled away. Learn from the humans. They are strange creatures, weak in body but surprisingly strong in other ways. I have studied them. They may surprise you. She walked to Nira and knelt down. My little curious one, be brave. Learn everything. Eat carefully. Not everything here is safe for our kind. Nira nodded seriously. Can I keep the moon, mother? As a pet? The queen almost smiled. Almost. The moon is not for keeping, child, but you may watch it whenever you wish. Then Queen Orin walked into the light and rose up toward the ship. The massive vessel hummed, glowed brighter, and then shot up into the sky so fast that it disappeared in a heartbeat. Silence fell over the farm. Taeho stood there in his sleeping clothes, holding a baseball bat in one hand and a strange metal cube in the other. In front of him stood two alien princesses. One was glaring at him with murder in her eyes. The other was trying to catch a firefly. Well, Taeho said quietly to himself, this is not how I expected my Tuesday to go. Vela turned to him, her purple eyes cold as ice. Listen to me, human. I do not accept this. I do not accept you. I will find a way to contact my mother's fleet. I will leave this disgusting planet. Until then, you will stay away from me. You will not speak to me. You will not look at me. You are nothing but dirt beneath my feet. She walked past him into the house like she owned it. Nira looked up at Taeho with her big, curious eyes. Is it true that humans eat plants? How do you eat something that does not run away? Is it not boring? Can I try? What is your name again? Your house is very small. Do all humans live in tiny boxes? Why do you have hair on your face? Does it hurt? Can I touch it? Taeho sighed deeply. He looked up at the stars where the ship had disappeared. He looked at his burned cabbage field. He looked at the strange little alien girl asking him 100 questions. My name is Taeho, he said slowly, and I think I need a drink. That was the night Kang Taeho's quiet life ended. That was the night everything changed. He did not know it yet, but those two strange girls would become the most important people in his life. He did not know it yet, but he was about to become something he never expected. A father. The first week was a disaster. Vela refused to eat anything Taeho cooked. She called his rice white worms and his kimchi rotting poison. She sat in the corner of the small guest room and stared at the wall for hours. She did not sleep in the bed because she said it smelled like dead animal hair. She slept on the floor instead. Every night she went outside and pointed a small device at the sky. Taeho did not know what she was doing until the third night when he asked. I am sending signals to any Vellani ships that may be passing through this system, she said coldly. When they receive my message, they will come for us, and I will leave this horrible planet forever. And if no ships come? Taeho asked. Vela's purple eyes burned. Then I will die here, but I will never accept this life. I will never accept you. Nira was completely different. On the first morning, she discovered television. For 3 hours, she sat in front of the old screen with her mouth open, watching a Korean drama about a girl who fell in love with a ghost. She laughed, she cried, she threw a pillow at the television when the main characters did not kiss. This is amazing, she shouted. Why did no one tell me humans had such wonderful stories? The emotions, the drama, the beautiful crying. By the end of the first week, Nira had watched 6 complete drama series. She started speaking Korean better than her mother had, copying the way actors talked. She started using human expressions like, oh my God, and what the heck, and I cannot believe this. She also discovered Korean snacks. What is this? She asked, holding up a bag of shrimp crackers. Snacks, Taeho said. Be careful. I do not know what your kind can eat safely. Nira ignored him and ate the entire bag in 2 minutes. Then she ate 3 more bags. Then she ate an entire box of chocolate cookies. Then she lay on the floor holding her stomach and moaning happily. I love Earth, she whispered. I never want to leave. But the second week brought trouble. Vela had not eaten anything for 8 days. Her silver skin was turning gray. Her movements were slow and weak. Taeho was worried. But every time he tried to offer her food, she slapped it away. "I would rather starve than eat your primitive garbage," she said. On the ninth day, Tai-Ho woke up to screaming. He ran to the guest room and found Vela on the floor, shaking violently. Her skin had turned dark purple. Foam came from her mouth. Her eyes had rolled back in her head. "Nira, what happened?" Tai-Ho shouted. Nira was crying, holding her sister's hand. "She ate something. She was so hungry she finally ate something from your kitchen. I think it was the red fruit." Tai-Ho's heart stopped. The red fruit. The strawberries. He ran to the kitchen. The box of strawberries was empty. His mind raced. He was a military medic for 10 years. He had saved soldiers from bullets, bombs, and poison. But he had never treated an alien before. "Think," he told himself. "What do you know?" Strawberries were acidic. If Vellani biology could not handle certain acids, they would need something to neutralize it. Something basic. Something alkaline. He grabbed baking soda and mixed it with water. He ran back to Vela and forced her mouth open. Her teeth were sharp like small knives, and she bit his hand badly. Blood ran down his arm. He ignored the pain and poured the mixture down her throat. For 10 terrible seconds, nothing happened. Then Vela coughed. She vomited purple liquid all over the floor. She coughed again and again and again. Her skin slowly started turning silver again. Tai-Ho held her up, letting her lean against him. His hand was bleeding badly, but he did not care. He just held her until the shaking stopped. "You stupid girl," he whispered. "You almost died. Why did you not just tell me you were hungry? I would have found something safe for you to eat." Vela looked up at him. Her purple eyes were wet with tears. It was the first time Tai-Ho had seen her show any weakness. "Why?" she whispered. "Why did you save me? I have been terrible to you. I called you dirt. I said I hated you. Why would you help me?" Tai-Ho sighed. "Because you are a child. A scared, angry child far from home. I could never let a child die in front of me, no matter how she treats me." Something changed in Vela's eyes that night. She did not suddenly become kind or warm, but the ice in her gaze melted just a little. Just enough. The third week brought a different kind of problem. Nira had made a friend. Her name was Hana, a 12-year-old girl from the village nearby. She had been walking through the forest when she found Nira trying to talk to a squirrel. "Why will it not answer me?" Nira had asked seriously. "I am speaking very clearly." Hana thought Nira was the strangest, funniest person she had ever met. They became instant friends. Every day, Hana came to play. They watched dramas together. They picked flowers. They played games. But Nira almost revealed her secret. One afternoon, Tai-Ho heard Hana scream. He ran outside and found both girls standing in the yard. A cup of juice was floating in the air between them. Nira was making it float with her mind. "How are you doing that?" Hana shouted. "That is impossible. Are you a witch? Are you a ghost? What are you?" Tai-Ho quickly grabbed the cup from the air. "It is a magic trick. Just a magic trick. I taught her. There are strings attached. Very thin strings. You cannot see them. Hana, would you like some cookies?" He managed to distract Hana with food and send her home early. But that night, he had a serious talk with Nira. "You cannot show your powers to anyone," he said firmly. "If people find out what you are, very bad things will happen. Scientists will want to study you. Governments will want to capture you. You must be careful." Nira nodded sadly. "I understand. I am sorry, Samchon." Tai-Ho blinked. "What did you call me?" "Samchon, it means uncle in Korean. I learned it from my drama. Is that okay?" Tai-Ho felt something warm in his chest. "Yes," he said softly. "That is okay." But the fourth week brought the biggest problem of all. Tai-Ho called his younger sister, Yuna. She was a doctor in Seoul, and he needed medical advice about what foods were safe for the girls. "You want me to tell you what foods are safe for alien princesses?" Yuna said flatly on the phone. "Brother, have you lost your mind? Are you taking drugs? Do I need to come there and check on you?" "I am serious, Yuna. Please, just video call me. I will show you." When Yuna's face appeared on the screen, Tai-Ho turned the camera to show Nira and Vela sitting on the couch. Nira waved happily. "Hello! You must be Samchon's sister. You are very pretty. Do you watch dramas too?" Yuna stared. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish. Their skin, their eyes, that is makeup, right? Very good makeup. Nira, Tejo said. Show her. Nira smiled and lifted her hand. The television remote floated up from the table and danced in the air. Yuna screamed and dropped her phone. When she finally calmed down, Tai-Ho explained everything. The Queen, the 5-year mission, the grandchildren request, all of it. This is insane, Yuna whispered. This is absolutely insane. Brother, what have you gotten yourself into? I did not choose this, Tejo said, but I cannot abandon them. They are just children. At the end of the call, Yuna promised to help however she could. She would research what foods might be safe. She would send medicine and supplies. She would keep the secret. But as Tai-Ho hung up the phone, he noticed something outside the window. A small drone hovering in the sky, watching his house. Someone else knew about the girls, and they were watching. The man arrived on a rainy Tuesday morning. Tai-Ho was feeding the chickens when a black car drove up the dirt road to his farm. It was the kind of expensive car that did not belong in a poor farming village. The kind of car that meant trouble. A man stepped out. He was tall, fit, with short military hair and a scar across his chin. He wore a black suit that looked uncomfortable in the countryside. Tai-Ho, the man said. It has been a long time. Tai-Ho recognized him immediately. Dongwu, I thought you were dead. Many people think that. I find it useful. Dongwu looked around the farm carefully. We need to talk. Inside. Now. In the kitchen, Dongwu sat at the small table and refused tea. Vela and Nira were in the other room, and Tai-Ho could feel Vela watching through the crack in the door. I work for a special government agency now, Dongwu said quietly. We handle things that do not officially exist. Aliens, strange events, things the public cannot know about. So you know about them, Tai-Ho said. Everyone knows about them. At least every government with satellites and spies. Dongwu leaned forward. Tai-Ho, do you understand what landed on your farm? The Villani Empire controls over 200 star systems. Their queen is one of the most powerful beings in this part of the galaxy. And her daughters? They are worth more than this entire planet. Tai-Ho said nothing. There is a civil war in the Villani Empire, Dongwu continued. 3 factions are fighting for power. One faction wants the princesses dead so they cannot become political tools. Another faction wants to capture them and force marriages to control the throne. The third faction is loyal to the queen, but they are losing the war. And Earth? Earth is neutral ground. We are too primitive and too far away to matter to the Villani. That is why the queen chose to hide her daughters here. But now every government on Earth wants those girls. The Americans, the Chinese, the Russians, everyone. Whoever controls the princesses can bargain with the Villani. They can ask for technology, protection, power. Dongwu looked at Tai-Ho with serious eyes. My government sent me to bring them in. Quietly, safely. They will be treated well, I promise. But they must come with me. Tai-Ho was quiet for a long moment. He thought about Nira calling him Samchon. He thought about Vela's eyes when he saved her life. He thought about the promise he never asked for, but somehow made anyway. No, he said. Dongwu blinked. No, they are not tools. They are not bargaining chips. They are children, scared children who lost their home and their mother. I will not hand them over to be used by politicians. Tai-Ho, be reasonable. You cannot protect them alone. You are one man with a cabbage farm. Then I will be one man with a cabbage farm who does the right thing. Dongwu sighed deeply. He stood up and walked to the window. I was afraid you would say that. You always were too stubborn, too idealistic. He turned back. Listen carefully. I came here as a friend first before my agency sends others who will not be so friendly. In 3 days, an extraction team will come. They are professionals. They will take the girls by force if needed. Then what do you suggest? Run. Dongwu pulled out a small piece of paper and put it on the table. This is an address in the mountains. An old military bunker that has been abandoned for 30 years. No records, no electricity, no way to track you. Take the girls there. Hide. I will delay my report for as long as I can. Tai-Ho looked at his old friend. Why are you helping me? Dongwu was silent for a moment. Because I have a daughter too. She is 8 years old, and I would burn the world before I let anyone use her. He walked to the door. You have 3 days, Tai-ho. Do not waste them. He drove away in the black car, and Tai-ho was left with a choice. That night, he gathered Vela and Nira in the living room. We have to leave, Array, he said. Bad people are coming, people who want to take you away and use you. We must hide in the mountains. Nira looked scared. I do not want to go. I like it here. I have Hana. I have my dramas. I do not want to run. Vela was quiet. She looked at Tai-ho with her purple eyes, calculating. You could hand us over. They would probably reward you. Why are you choosing to run with us? Because you are my responsibility now, Tai-ho said simply. And I do not abandon my responsibilities. Something flickered in Vela's eyes. Something that almost looked like respect. They spent 2 days packing. Tai-ho gathered food, water, medicine, and warm clothes. He destroyed his phone so it could not be tracked. He left a letter for his sister explaining everything. On the third night, they were ready to leave. But the extraction team came early. Tai-ho woke to the sound of breaking glass. Black-dressed soldiers crashed through the windows, moving fast and silent. They had guns with strange blue lights that hummed with energy. Go! Tai-ho shouted. Back door! Now! He grabbed a kitchen knife and ran at the first soldier. The man was twice his size and trained for combat, but Tai-ho had something the soldier did not have. 10 years of military experience and the desperate strength of a man protecting his family. The fight was brutal and fast. Tai-ho took down one soldier with a knife to the leg. A second soldier hit him across the face with the back of a gun. Blood filled his mouth. He kept fighting. Pathetic human, one soldier laughed. You think you can stop us? Tai-ho spat blood on the floor. I can try. More soldiers came. 5, 10. Too many. Tai-ho was pushed to the ground, arms pinned behind him. He could hear Nira screaming somewhere outside. We have the young one, a soldier shouted into his radio. Moving to secure the elder. No, Tai-ho thought, not like this. Then something happened that no one expected. Vela appeared in the doorway. Her purple eyes were glowing bright, like 2 violet suns. Her silver skin crackled with blue electricity. The air around her hummed and vibrated. Let them go. Her voice was different, deeper, echoing, powerful. The soldiers raised their weapons, but Vela moved her hand, and every gun in the room flew away and crushed against the wall like paper. She moved her other hand, and the soldiers flew backward, crashing through windows and walls. Tai-ho stared. He knew Nira had some telekinetic powers, but this was different. This was terrifying. Vela walked to the soldier holding Nira. The man was frozen with fear. You touched my sister, Vela said calmly. That was a mistake. She flicked her finger, and the man flew 50 meters into the forest. Nira ran to Tai-ho, crying and shaking. Within 30 seconds, every soldier was unconscious or running away. Vela turned to Tai-ho. Her eyes were still glowing. I have been hiding my true power. Our mother trained me to be a weapon since I was 3 years old. I did not want anyone here to know what I could do. Why show me now? Vela looked at the blood on his face, the bruises on his arms, the injuries he got trying to protect them. Because you were about to die for us. Her voice cracked just a little. No one has ever done that before. No one except my mother's soldiers who were paid to die. You chose to. Tai-ho stood up slowly, pain screaming through his body. He looked at Vela, this strange alien girl with the power to destroy buildings. And he saw something new in her eyes, trust, the first real trust she had ever given him. We need to go, he said. More will come. They ran into the night, into the mountains, into the unknown. Behind them, the farm burned, but ahead of them, something new was beginning. A family was being born. 6 months passed in the mountains. The abandoned bunker was cold and dark at first. There was no electricity, no running water, no connection to the outside world. Just concrete walls, dusty floors, and silence. But slowly it became home. Tai-ho fixed the old generator. He found a stream nearby for fresh water. He built a small garden outside, hidden between trees where no one could see. The bunker had 3 rooms, and he gave the largest one to the girls. Life became routine. Wake up early. Cook breakfast over a small fire. study, work, eat, sleep, repeat. Taeho homeschooled both girls. He taught them history, mathematics, science, and Korean literature. Vela was a brilliant student. She learned faster than anyone Taeho had ever seen. Within 2 months, she could read Korean novels without help. Within 4 months, she was solving university-level math problems. But she refused to learn cooking. "It is a servant's task," she said coldly when Taeho first asked her to help in the kitchen. "No," Taeho replied calmly. "It is a survival skill. What will you do if I am not here one day? What will you do if something happens to me?" Vela had no answer, so the cooking lessons began. They were disasters at first. Vela burned rice. She turned soup into black water. She somehow made vegetables explode. Once, she created a small fire that almost burned down the bunker. "This is impossible," she shouted, throwing a burnt pan against the wall. "I can calculate the orbit of 17 planets in my head. I can read 4 languages. I can fight 10 soldiers at once. But I cannot make this stupid rice taste like anything other than garbage." Taeho picked up the pan calmly. "Then try again." "Why? What is the point? I will never be good at this." "The point is not being good. The point is learning. The point is trying." Taeho handed her a new bag of rice. "In my country, we say that even a genius must fail 100 times before succeeding once. Failure is not the end, Vela. It is the beginning." Vela stared at him for a long moment. Then she grabbed the rice and started again. It took 3 more months, but eventually, Vela made a perfect pot of rice. She made soup that tasted good. She made simple dishes that were warm and filling. The night she successfully cooked an entire dinner by herself, something strange happened. She laughed. It was a small sound at first, barely a breath. Then it grew louder. She laughed until tears rolled down her silver cheeks, laughed until she had to hold her stomach, laughed until Nira and Taeho started laughing too without knowing why. "I did it," Vela whispered, looking at the meal she had made. "I actually did it." It was the first time Taeho had ever heard her laugh. It was beautiful. Nira, meanwhile, had different lessons to learn. She was wonderful at making friends with animals. Squirrels came to her. Birds landed on her shoulders. Even a wild deer once let her pet its head. But she was terrible at sitting still. "Why must I learn mathematics?" she complained one afternoon. "When will I ever need to calculate numbers? I can just feel when something is right or wrong." "And what if your feelings are wrong?" Taeho asked. "They are never wrong." "Really?" Taeho smiled and pointed to her bowl of soup. "Nira, did you add salt to this?" She nodded proudly. "How much salt?" "I felt that 3 spoons was right." Taeho took a small sip and immediately started coughing. The soup was so salty it could have killed a fish. Nira's face fell. "Oh." "Sometimes," Taeho said gently, "feelings need to be guided by facts. Mathematics teaches us to think clearly, to measure, to be precise. Your heart is beautiful, Nira, but your mind must be strong too." After that, Nira tried harder with her studies. One spring afternoon, Nira found a small, injured dog in the forest. Its leg was broken, and it was crying softly. She carried it back to the bunker and begged Taeho to help. "Please, Samshon, please save him. I will do anything. I will study mathematics for 10 hours. I will learn to cook. Please." Taeho examined the dog carefully. The leg was badly broken. The dog was thin and weak. It would be very difficult to save. But he looked at Nira's tearful eyes and he could not say no. For 3 weeks, Taeho nursed the dog back to health. He made a tiny cast for its leg. He fed it by hand when it was too weak to eat. He stayed up at night when the dog cried in pain. Nira helped with everything. She learned to change bandages. She learned to give medicine. She learned to be patient and gentle. When the dog finally stood up on its own, wagging its tail weakly, Nira cried with happiness. "What will you name him?" Taeho asked. "Bayo," Nira said. "It means star, because he survived like a little star in the darkness." Vela pretended to hate the dog. She called it a smelly beast and a waste of resources. She complained when it slept on her blanket and growled when it licked her hand. But Taeho noticed that she secretly named it too. Late one night, when she thought no one was watching, Vela sat with Biol in her lap, gently stroking his fur. "Good boy," she whispered. "You are not so bad for a primitive earth creature." Tae-ho smiled and said nothing. Summer came, and with it came long, warm nights. One evening, Tae-ho and Vela sat outside the bunker, watching the stars. Nira was asleep inside with Biol curled at her feet. "There," Vela said, pointing to a cluster of stars in the distance. "That is where my home system is. The third star from the left." Tai-ho looked. The stars were beautiful, cold, and far away. "Do you miss it?" Vela was quiet for a long time. "I miss the idea of it, the palaces, the power, the respect. But," she paused, "I do not miss the loneliness." "You were lonely?" "Always." Vela pulled her knees to her chest. "My mother is the queen. She has an empire to rule. She did not have time for bedtime stories or cooking lessons or laughing over burnt rice. I was raised by teachers, guards, and machines. I was trained to fight, to think, to survive, but no one ever taught me to live." She looked at Tae-ho with her purple eyes, and for once, there was no coldness in them. "Why are humans so kind? It makes no logical sense. You gain nothing from caring for us. You lost your home, your safety, your normal life. Yet you stay, you teach, you protect. Why?" Tae-ho thought carefully before answering. "Because kindness is not about gaining something. It is about giving something. When I lost my wife 3 years ago, I thought my life was over. I thought I had no purpose anymore. Then you two fell from the sky, and suddenly I had a reason to wake up every morning." He smiled softly. "You saved me as much as I saved you." Vela stared at him. Something wet appeared in her eyes. "I never had a father," she whispered. "Not really. I had a biological donor who died before I was born. I had advisors and commanders who pretended to care, but never a real father." She did not finish the sentence. She did not need to. Tai-ho reached over and gently took her hand. Her silver skin was warm. Her fingers were shaking slightly. "You have one now," he said. "If you want." Vela said nothing, but she did not pull her hand away. They sat together under the stars until dawn, and something between them changed forever. In her mind, quietly, secretly, Vela stopped calling him the human. She started calling him Abioji, father. The ships came in autumn when the mountain leaves were turning gold and red. 3 massive vessels descended from the sky, each one larger than a city. They blocked out the sun and cast shadows over the entire mountain range. The sound of their engines made the earth shake. They had found them. Tae-ho stood outside the bunker, watching the ships land in the valley below. Vela stood beside him, her face pale. Nira held Biol tightly in her arms. "Who are they?" Tae-ho asked. "Suitors," Vela said, her voice bitter. "Noble families from across the galaxy who want to marry us for political power. They must have tracked our energy signals through space." Within an hour, a group of aliens walked up the mountain toward the bunker. There were 3 of them, each from a different species. The first was tall and covered in golden scales. He had 4 arms and eyes like black diamonds. He moved like a snake, smooth and dangerous. The second was short and round, with blue skin and tiny wings on his back. He looked almost friendly, but his smile was too wide and his eyes were too clever. The third was the most terrifying. He was massive, nearly 3 meters tall, with gray skin like stone and muscles like mountains. His face was proud and cruel. He wore armor decorated with the skulls of creatures Tae-ho could not name. "I am Prince Korath of the Drayan Empire," the gray giant announced, his voice booming. "I have come to claim Princess Vela as my bride. Our union will bring peace between our empires and power beyond imagination." He looked at Tae-ho like he was looking at an insect. "Who is this? A servant? A pet?" Korath laughed, a sound like rocks crashing together. "Ah yes, I heard the queen left her daughters with a primitive. How amusing. How pathetic." The golden-scaled alien stepped forward. "I am Lord Sevek of the Wrenth Collective. I have come for Princess Nira. She will be a fine addition to my collection." "Collection?" Nira whispered, fear in her voice. "Of wives," Sevek smiled. "You will be my 14th. A lucky number." The blue alien simply bowed. I am Minister Paul of the Merchant Federation. I represent several interested parties who wish to negotiate for both princesses. We offer wealth, technology, and protection. Tejo stepped forward, placing himself between the suitors and the girls. No, he said. Korath blinked. What? I said no. They are not for sale. They are not for marriage. They are not going anywhere with any of you. For a moment there was complete silence. Then Korath started laughing. It was a cruel, mocking laugh that echoed off the mountains. This is precious. A human thinks he can refuse us. Do you understand what I am, little creature? I have conquered worlds. I have killed millions. I have armies that could turn this planet into dust in a single day. I understand perfectly, Tejo said calmly. You are a bully who cannot find a wife without threatening people. You are a coward who only feels strong when he is hurting those weaker than himself. I have met many like you. They all had one thing in common. And what is that? They all fell eventually. Korath's face twisted with rage. He grabbed Tejo by the throat and lifted him off the ground like he weighed nothing. You dare insult me? I will crush you like the insect you are. Tejo could not breathe. His vision was going dark, but he did not look away from Korath's eyes. The girls, stay with me, he managed to choke out. Vela screamed, Let him go! He is nothing to you. If you want me, take me. Just do not hurt him. Korath paused. He looked at Vela with interest. You care about this human? Fascinating. Perhaps I will kill him slowly in front of you after our wedding. You will not touch him. The voice was Nira's, but it was different, deeper, stronger, angrier. Everyone turned to look at the young princess. Her eyes were glowing bright white. The air around her crackled with energy. Small rocks began floating off the ground. You come to our home. You threaten our family. You put your hands on our father. Nira's voice echoed with power. You will regret that. She raised her hands and a wave of force exploded outward. Korath flew backward, crashing into trees and rocks. The other two suitors were thrown down the mountain like leaves in a storm. But Korath got back up. His stone skin was cracked, and purple blood dripped from his face, but he was smiling. Impressive. The little one has power. But not enough. He charged at Nira, moving faster than something so large should be able to move. And then Vela was there. She stood between Korath and her sister, her purple eyes blazing like twin suns. The air itself seemed to bend around her. When she spoke, her voice shook the mountains. Touch my sister, and I will end your entire bloodline. She raised one hand and Korath stopped. Not because he chose to, but because he could not move. Vela was holding him in place with her mind, every muscle in his body frozen. You think you are powerful? Vela walked toward him slowly. You know nothing of power. I was bred for war. I was trained since birth to kill. I have more power in my smallest finger than your entire empire has in its strongest weapon. She flicked her hand, and Korath flew backward, crashing into his own ship. The metal dented like paper. Listen carefully, all of you. Vela's voice rang out across the valley, and somehow Tejo knew that everyone in those ships could hear her. The Princess Vela of the Vellani Empire formally rejects all offers of marriage. I will choose my own fate. I will choose my own partner. And if any of you touch my family again, I will not show mercy a second time. She looked down at Tejo, who was lying on the ground gasping for breath but alive. This man is my father, not by blood, but by choice. He has more honor in his heart than any prince or lord I have ever met. If you want me, you must first prove yourself worthy of his respect, and judging by what I have seen today, none of you ever will. The suitors retreated. They returned to their ships, and within an hour, the vessels rose into the sky and disappeared into space. The mountain was quiet again. Nira ran to Tejo and hugged him tightly, crying, Abeoji, are you okay? I was so scared. I thought he was going to kill you. Tejo looked at her in surprise. What did you call me? Nira froze. Then she blushed deeply. I meant Samchon. She called you Abeoji, Vela said softly. Father, because that is what you are. She knelt down beside him, and for the first time she took his hand gently. You stood against a being who could have killed you with one finger. You did not run. You did not surrender. Why? Teho smiled weakly. Because you are my daughters, and a father protects his children, no matter what. Vela's eyes filled with tears. She had not cried since she was a small child, but now she could not stop. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for being something I never thought I would have. That night, news spread across the galaxy. A human had stood against alien princes. A human had refused to surrender his family. A human had shown more courage than warriors who had conquered planets. And somewhere in the stars, Queen Orin received a report of what had happened. She read it 3 times. Then she smiled. Perhaps, she said quietly to herself, I chose better than I knew. 5 years passed. 5 years of laughter and tears. 5 years of burned dinners and successful ones. 5 years of arguments and apologies. 5 years of watching 2 alien girls grow into young women. Nira was 17 now, no longer a child. She had grown tall and graceful, with her mother's silver skin but her own warm smile. She had graduated from Taiho's homeschool lessons and was studying online to prepare for a human university. She wanted to be a veterinarian. She wanted to help animals like she had helped Biol all those years ago. She still watched Korean dramas. She still ate too many snacks. She still laughed too loud and talked too fast. But she had learned discipline too. She could control her powers perfectly now. She could lift a building or a feather with equal precision. Vela was 21. She had become beautiful in a way that was almost frightening. Her purple eyes held wisdom beyond her years, and her silver skin seemed to glow with inner light. She had studied medicine through online courses and books that Una sent. She wanted to be a doctor. She wanted to heal instead of destroy. She still had a sharp tongue. She still rolled her eyes at stupid things. She still pretended not to care when she cared very much. But she smiled now. She laughed now. She hugged people now. She called Taiho Abeoji openly, without shame. Taiho himself had changed too. At 40, his hair was graying at the edges. His face had more lines. But his eyes were bright and full of life in a way they had not been for years. He had purpose. He had family. He had daughters. They had returned to the farm 3 years ago, after Dongwu confirmed it was safe. The government had stopped looking. The world had moved on. Life was peaceful again. But they all knew this peace would not last forever. The queen was coming back. She arrived on a Tuesday morning, just as she had left 5 years before. But this time it was not one ship. It was a fleet. Hundreds of massive vessels filled the sky, blocking out the sun. They stretched from horizon to horizon, an army of metal and fire. This was the full power of the Vellani Empire, restored and victorious. Queen Orin descended from the largest ship in a beam of light. She looked exactly the same as before. Tall, silver, golden-eyed, wearing armor that flowed like liquid metal. But there was something different in her face, a hardness that had not been there before, the look of someone who had fought a war and won. She walked toward the farmhouse where Taiho stood waiting, and she stopped, because Vela and Nira were not standing behind him, like servants or prisoners. They were standing beside him, equal, together, a family. "Mother," Vela said calmly, "welcome back." Queen Orin's golden eyes moved from face to face. She studied her daughters carefully, noting every change, the way they held themselves, the way they stood close to the human, the way they looked at him with love. "You have changed," the queen said. "Both of you." "Yes," Nira said, "we have. I won the war. The empire is safe now. It is time for you to return home. There are duties to fulfill, marriages to arrange, an empire to inherit." Nira shook her head. "We are not going back to that life. This is not a request." Taiho stepped forward. He bowed respectfully, but when he spoke, his voice was firm. "Your Majesty, 5 years ago you left your daughters at my door with an order, not a request. You told me to raise them, protect them, teach them. I have done all of that. They are healthy, they are strong, they are wise. But I did not just follow your orders. I love them. I became their father." Queen Orin's eyes narrowed. "You are a human, a primitive. You do not have the right to claim fatherhood over Vellani royalty. With respect, rights are not given. They are earned. Tae-ho met her gaze without fear. I earned the right when I saved Vela from poison. I earned it when I took a bullet protecting Nira. I earned it through 1,000 meals, 1,000 lessons, 1,000 nights sitting with them when they cried for their mother. You gave me your daughters as tools to make grandchildren. I raised them as children to make them happy. The queen was silent. Vela stepped forward. Mother, do you know why I rejected every suitor who came for me? It was not because they were weak or ugly or cruel. It was because none of them had what he has. She gestured to Taiho. Kindness. True, genuine kindness with no desire for reward. He gained nothing from loving us. He lost everything. His farm, his peace, his safety. Yet he never complained. He never regretted. He is human, the queen said, but her voice was less certain now. Yes, and that is what makes him special. Vela's voice grew passionate. You taught me that humans were primitive, simple, weak. But you were wrong, Mother. They are the strongest beings I have ever known. Not because of weapons or technology, but because of their hearts. They love without logic. They hope without reason. They fight without chance of winning. They are beautiful, and I am proud to have been raised by one. Nira stepped up beside her sister. He taught us what you never could, Mother. He taught us how to be loved. The words hung in the air like thunder. Queen Orange stood very still. Her golden eyes were unreadable. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then she turned away and walked back toward her ship. Tae-ho felt his heart sink. This was it. She would take them by force. She would destroy everything he had built. She would end this family he loved so much. But then the queen stopped. 1 week, she said without turning around. I will stay on this planet for 1 week. I will observe. I will learn. And then I will make my decision. She looked over her shoulder, her golden eyes meeting Tae-ho's. Show me, human. Show me what my daughters see in you. For 7 days, Queen Orin lived on the farm. It was awkward at first. She did not understand why humans slept lying down instead of standing. She found the food strange and the house too small. She asked why the chickens were not disciplined and why the dog was allowed on the furniture. But slowly, things changed. On the 2nd day, she watched Vela cook dinner. She saw her daughter laugh when she almost burned the sauce. She saw her try again without giving up. She saw the pride on her face when the meal turned out well. On the 3rd day, she watched Nira play with village children who had come to visit. She saw her daughter use her powers to make toys float, delighting the kids. She saw genuine joy, not royal performance. On the 4th day, she sat beside Tae-ho under the stars, just as Vela had done years before. Why? She asked. Why did you sacrifice so much for them? Tae-ho thought for a while before answering. Because they needed someone. Because I needed someone. Because sometimes the universe puts broken people together, and instead of breaking more, they heal each other. That is zoological. Yes, humans often are. The queen was quiet. Then very softly she said, I never learned how to be a mother. I was born a princess, raised to be a queen. My own mother died when I was young. I had tutors, advisors, guards, but never someone who held me when I cried. Never someone who stayed up when I was sick. Never someone who sacrificed for me without expecting something in return. Tae-ho looked at her. In the starlight, she did not look like an empress who ruled hundreds of worlds. She looked like a lonely woman who had made hard choices and lost something precious along the way. It is never too late, he said gently. They are still your daughters. They still love you. They are just asking you to love them differently than before. Queen Orin did not respond, but something in her eyes shifted. On the 7th day, she gathered everyone together. I have made my decision, she announced. Tae-ho held his breath. Vela grabbed his hand. Nira closed her eyes. My daughters will remain on Earth, for now. The queen raised a hand before anyone could speak. Not because I am giving up on them, but because I see that they have found something here that I could not give them. Peace, happiness, family. She turned to Tae-ho and did something that shocked everyone. She bowed. Kang Tae-ho of Earth, you have done what armies and empires could not. You have turned weapons into daughters. You have shown them love that I never learned to give. I am, she paused, struggling with the word. Grateful. Tejo did not know what to say. Vela spoke instead. Mother, you wanted grandchildren when you returned. I will give you grandchildren, but I will choose who, I will choose when, and I will choose where. It may be here, on Earth, with someone I love, not someone I was ordered to marry. Queen Orin was silent for a long moment. Then incredibly she nodded. Very well, I will wait. I have been waiting for many things for many years. I can wait for this too. She turned to leave, but Nira ran forward and hugged her. The queen froze. She clearly did not know what to do. Her arms stayed at her sides, stiff and uncertain. Then slowly, awkwardly, she hugged back. I love you, Mother, Nira whispered. I never stopped. The queen's voice cracked. I love you too. I always have. I just did not know how to show it. The fleet departed that night, but for the first time, the queen left something behind besides her daughters. She left a promise. She would return, not as an empress claiming her property, but as a mother, learning to love. 10 years later, on a warm spring morning, Kang Tae-ho sat on the porch of his farmhouse and watched his grandchild play in the garden. Her name was Yuri. She was 3 years old, with silver hair like moonlight and dark eyes like her father. Her skin was pale lavender, a beautiful mix of human and Vellani. She was chasing butterflies through the flowers, laughing with pure joy. Harabaoji! Look, I caught one! Yuri ran to him with her tiny hands cupped together. Tae-ho smiled and looked into her palms. A blue butterfly sat there, wings slowly opening and closing. Beautiful, he said. Just like you. Can I keep it? Butterflies do not like to be kept, little one. They need to be free, like you. Yuri thought about this seriously. Then she opened her hands and let the butterfly go. She watched it fly away with a smile that reminded Tae-ho so much of Nira at that age. Yuri, come inside for lunch, a voice called from the house. Vela stood in the doorway, wearing simple clothes with an apron tied around her waist. Her purple eyes were soft and warm. At 31, she looked exactly as beautiful as the day the suitors had come, but now there were laugh lines around her eyes and a calmness in her face that spoke of deep happiness. Behind her stood a man named Ji-won. He was tall and quiet, with kind eyes and a gentle smile. He was a doctor who had worked with Vela at the hospital where she now practiced medicine. They had met over a difficult surgery, argued about the best treatment method, and fallen in love somewhere between the second argument and the third apology. He was human, completely, wonderfully human. When Vela had introduced him to Tae-ho, she had been nervous. More nervous than when she faced alien princes or fought government soldiers. I know you said I could choose, she had whispered, but are you really okay with this? He is not royal. He is not rich. He is just a normal man. Tae-ho had looked at Ji-won, who was nervously trying to help in the kitchen, despite having no idea where anything was. He was clumsy and awkward, and clearly terrified of making a bad impression. He seems perfect, Tae-ho had said, and he meant it. The wedding had been small, just family and close friends on the farm. Vela had worn a simple white dress instead of Vellani royal robes. Ji-won had cried during his vows. Nira had eaten too much cake and fallen asleep on the couch with Biol, who was old now and gray around the muzzle but still loyal and loving. And Queen Orin had attended. She had sat in the back, watching everything with her golden eyes. She did not understand many of the customs. She found the music strange and the food too salty. But when Vela and Ji-won had kissed for the first time as a husband and wife, something had shifted in the queen's face. She had smiled, a real, genuine smile. Later that night, she had found Tae-ho standing alone by the pond. She chose well, the queen had said. Yes, she did. He is not what I expected. Not a warrior, not a prince, not even particularly impressive by human standards. No, he is just a good man. Sometimes that is enough. The queen had been quiet for a while. Then she said something that surprised Tae-ho. Thank you for everything. Now, 10 years later, Yuri was proof that the queen's strange request had been fulfilled, but not in the way anyone had expected. Not through forced marriage or political alliance. Through love. Through choice. through a family that had built itself from nothing. Nira arrived later that afternoon with her girlfriend, a human woman named Su-min, who taught elementary school in the nearby village. Samchon! Nira shouted, running across the yard to hug Taeho. At 27, she still had the same bright energy as the 12-year-old who had first arrived at his door, asking about moons and snacks. How was the trip? Taeho asked. Long, but worth it. I had to show Su-min the meteor shower last night. Did you see it? I saw it. It was beautiful. Nira was working now as a wildlife veterinarian. She traveled around the country helping injured animals, using her powers secretly to heal what medicine could not. She was happy, truly, deeply happy. Su-min followed behind, carrying bags of gifts and food. She was a small, cheerful woman with bright eyes and an easy laugh. She and Nira had been together for 3 years now, and Taeho had never seen his younger daughter more at peace. Hello, father, Su-min said, bowing politely. She had called him father from the second month of dating. It still made Taeho's heart warm every time. Biol came running out of the house, barking happily. He was 15 now, ancient for a dog, but he still had spirit. He jumped on Nira's legs and licked her face until she was laughing and crying at the same time. I missed you too, old friend, she whispered, hugging him tightly. Dinner that night was chaos. Yuri knocked over her juice twice. Vela and Nira argued about whose drama recommendations were better. Ji-won accidentally burned the vegetables and blamed it on Su-min, who blamed it on Nira, who blamed it on Biol, who barked innocently. Taeho sat at the head of the table and watched his family with a full heart. This was what he had built, not with power or magic or alien technology, with patience, with love, with the simple, stubborn refusal to give up. After dinner, a message arrived from space. It was a communication from Queen Orin, who sent regular updates now. She was doing well. The empire was stable. She had started learning to cook, though she reported that she had burned her first 3 attempts at making soup. At the end of the message, there was a new addition. I will be arriving on Earth next month for Yuri's birthday celebration. I have purchased many gifts, perhaps too many. The advisors say I am spoiling her. They are probably correct. I do not care. She is my granddaughter. I will spoil her as much as I wish. Please prepare the guest room and extra blankets. Your planet is still too cold for my liking. I look forward to seeing you all. With respect and love, Queen Orin. Taeho smiled and put down the communicator. Love. It had taken her 15 years to write that word. 15 years to learn what it meant. 15 years to accept that strength and power were not the only things that mattered, but she had learned. They had all learned. Later that night, Taeho sat alone on the porch. The stars were bright above him, millions of lights scattered across the darkness. Somewhere out there, an empire spanned hundreds of worlds. Somewhere out there, wars were being fought and treaties were being signed. But here, on this small farm, on this primitive planet, there was peace. The door opened and Vela came out. She sat beside him, just as she had done many times over the years. What are you thinking about? She asked. Everything. Nothing. Life. Taeho smiled. Do you remember the first night you arrived? You called me dirt beneath your feet. Vela laughed softly. I was young and stupid and scared. You were perfect, both of you, from the very beginning. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Abeoji, Vela said quietly, I never thanked you properly. For everything. For saving my life. For teaching me. For loving me when I did not deserve it. For being patient when I was cruel. For never giving up. You gave us a home when we had none. You gave us a family when we had lost ours. You gave us a future when we had no hope. Taeho felt tears in his eyes. After all these years, after all they had been through, her words still moved him. You do not need to thank me, he said. You are my daughter. That is reason enough for everything. Vela leaned her head on his shoulder, just as she had done 100 times before. I love you, Abeoji. I love you too, daughter. The stars shone above them. The night was quiet, and somewhere in the house, a little girl with silver hair dreamed of butterflies and moons. This was not the life Kang Taeho had expected. 15 years ago, he was a lonely farmer with a broken heart, growing cabbages and waiting to die. Now he was a father, a grandfather, a bridge between worlds, all because a queen had made an impossible demand, all because he had been too stubborn to refuse, all because love, real love, does not care about species or planets or logic. It just grows, and it lasts forever.